Good afternoon and welcome, members of the media. What if I told you that there was a country whose children have to study in schools with mold and bird mites, where the government has changed education ministers almost annually, where teachers are buying toilet paper for students, where the government cut the budget by $20 million, but spent $77 million on an international sporting event, and finally, where the teachers' union actually has had to ask the minister to provide a certificate of occupancy at the launch of each school year that ensures safety standards are met in regards to air quality, vermin infestation, potable water, and food service preparation areas. Would you think that country has one of the highest per capita income in the world? Or would you think it was from a lesser developed country? Once you're told that this is Bermuda in 2017, a wealthy country by any measure, well then you're left with the simple, naked, raw truth. Bermuda's government keeps the public education and our students at a very low priority. How can you logically think anything else? Governing is about priorities. For instance, if a government wants to show its priority is building an airport, it will not put out to tender the project. Give it to someone you know. Raise taxes for it while also handing over every bit of revenue it earns. And do that for 30 years. That is showing a clear priority. So we have seen the mountains the One Bermuda Alliance will move when something is a priority, but when it is something that they care about. So when you find out that the education budget has been slashed by an average of $5 million every year since the One Bermuda Alliance was elected as government, when government chooses to let the strategic plan lapse for a full 2 years and only starts a new plan in an election year, you clearly see that educating our students is most definitely not a priority of this government. The One Bermuda Alliance's performance in education would be appalling in any country, but in a country where our human capital is one of our greatest resources, and education is the way to secure one's quality of life, we cannot afford a system where many employers lack confidence in the education system. The government needs to lead by making the necessary investment in our students to remove any doubts that our employers have about either the facilities or the quality of education that we offer in our schools. One only needs to look at the Bermuda College as an example of this failure to invest in our children when they changed the policies to force students to pay full tuition. By every single gauge, the Bermuda College is a successful institution of learning. So if you look at the enrollment of the students when tuition was free and when it was reduced versus the enrollment now that the OBA has imposed fees, the enrollment has dropped off. And of course, the fewer students, the more the One Bermuda Alliance cuts the budget. It's a vicious cycle of budget cuts that begins with the OBA but will end under the PLP. And let me be clear, I'm not saying that it will be free, but student enrollment at the college will be a PLP priority. For 5 years, Bermudians have watched the One Bermuda Alliance split this country into two with policies that have not reached those that need to be reached, but enhance things for those who do not need to be enhanced. We need a government that recognizes and is committed to ensuring that our schools meet health and safety standards to ensure our students and teachers can be assured the learning environment is not one that poses health hazards and understands that our children should always be the main focus of any initiatives put forth.
Good afternoon. There can be no doubt that in 2017, the choices that some parents have to make regarding their children's education are neither fair nor sustainable. They are not fair because many parents believe that their children, especially boys, need to be in private school in order to get a good education. In a lot of cases, the parents themselves did not attend private school, are working in good jobs based on their own public education. But in the two Bermudas in which we now live, they settle for an unfair choice and pay both taxes and tuition, trying to do the very best for their children. And the unfairness of this choice, or dare I say this ability to choose to send a child to private school, may be one of the lines in our country that separates our communities and society. In a country where teachers are disrespected by the government, where parents have to look their children in the eyes each morning and send them to a toxic school, where employers look at job applications with a public school education and a certain home address and negatively prejudge them, but also in a country where generations of Bermudians received public education, graduated and attended the best universities in North America, then returned to be leaders in their chosen fields. This is a betrayal of trust of the highest order, and it is unsustainable. In a small country like Bermuda, whether it was accounting, medicine, law, theology, or business, while networking may have gotten you the interview, it was your education that got you the job. Your performance turned that job into a career, and that career gave you a rich quality of life. But in 2017, it is unsustainable because we are 22 square miles, 700 miles at sea, and if a bright, committed, supported student cannot make it in this economy with the wealth and opportunity here, then where shall they go? We simply cannot allow the system of praise for private and poor for you for public to continue. This system does not promote or enhance the Bermudian values of merit and fairness, and Bermuda can be better. We used to be better. That was the simple premise that Bermuda made to us. You do your part for your future, and I'll do my part by providing you a career. In fact, parents used to be able to believe in a government that said, if you invest in your children by getting them ready to learn at school, we'll invest in the schools and ensure they graduate ready and capable. Bermuda and government used to deliver on their promise. That's why we instill the value of education in our community. That's why parents of Spice Valley students in Warwick sent their children to Clearwater and St. David's when the school was sick. That's why parents at Delwood have to send their children to the Bermuda College when that school is sick. It is also why the Bermuda Union of Teachers cares so much that they risk their own livelihoods to fight for our children's education and future. That's why in 2017, teachers are buying supplies like paper and paper towels for schools that don't have the budget, even the classroom basics, while watching their government allow tens of millions of dollars worth of duty revenue sail away on foils doing 40 or so knots. All of these stakeholders, parents, teachers, unions, businesses, college, are all fighting for those who cannot fight, our children and their right to a good education. Confidence in the system is at an all-time low. Quite frankly, enough is enough. The first thing that we will do is ensure education funding. With the PLP government, this means combining our promise with our priority. The PLP will be the first government to ring-fence the education budget. This means that once the education budget is set, the funds cannot be used for any other purpose. There will be no mid-year appropriation. When the budget is set, when the priority it needs is enshrined, the funds will be untouchable. We cannot afford to play with resources and finances when it comes to our children's and Bermuda's future. And our guarantee is that education will be fully funded and resourced, period. There will be no doing more with less with education. Students will not be forced to sacrifice their aspiration because the equipment in the classroom cannot match their ability. And principals will not be caught in battles between a non-caring education minister and deeply caring parents while trying to educate a generation. Governing is about priorities. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Bermuda Public Schools must be a first choice for education. In any society, the education of its people must be and must always be ensuring a quality education. A sound education equips our young ones with the skills to chase and realize their dreams, and it supplies communities with able-bodied people who contribute to its well-being and sustainability. What does a quality education look like? It is equipped with the up-to-date technologies, and the schools are safe and sound structures. It caters to the learning styles and needs of its students and provides an environment conducive to those differences and one which promotes excellence. It is one that is competitive and comparable with other private and international institutions. It ensures that both students and teachers have the required resources to deliver quality instruction and to enhance learning. It is responsive to the needs of the students and the community it serves. How is this achieved? Largely through appropriate and adequate financing. Research has proven that in jurisdictions considered to be the leaders in education, there was huge investments placed on the education of its people. Both anecdotal and researched evidence have demonstrated that the Bermuda public has still not placed the level of confidence in our school system which was once enjoyed. In particular, there remains a worrisome departure of students from our system when students are about to enter the middle schools. This, coupled with the data and student performance, the data on student performance accrued over the 2 decades based on the middle school performances, depicts a decline of public confidence. So we're left with a choice to continue with such a system or to reshape it so that it is responsive to the people's requests, and more importantly, so that it will provide an atmosphere where students' only concern is reaching their full potential. Parents and the public at large have repeatedly cried out for us to change the middle school system. The PLP has undertaken to phase out the middle school system. The PLP is listening, but we will not do that without the help of parents. We will make sure that teachers are involved. We will do it in conjunction with the Bermuda Union of Teachers and all of the community partners who have a vested interest in Bermuda society and the well-being of Bermuda. The PLP is listening, and we want to ensure that Bermuda can once again place its full confidence in the entire Bermuda school system. We will reshape our schools to ensure that there's always excellence in the realm of sports, in the arts, in technology, in academics, and in every aspect of school life. We will provide that platform to catapult our students full speed ahead with all the attributes needed for success on any front. Our students and families deserve nothing less than the best. We must, by example, show that we are serious about our future. We will make education a priority. And we are doing that in response to the public demand. Thank you.
So as you can see from statements by my colleagues, it is very clear that under this government, our children have been forced to go without. Even more importantly, they have been forced to go without while the OBA government has needed money to help fund 2 vanity projects, the disastrous airport deal and the celebratory America's Cup. They have sacrificed our children, the future of our country, and has caused great harm throughout the educational system. Whether it's to build up Bermuda's workforce or to ensure Bermudian students reach their potential, or whether it is a sustainable solution to the surge of rampant gang violence, investing in education is one of the most worthwhile and responsible priorities a government can have. The Progressive Labor Party will restore the promise of Bermuda's public education system. Thank you. The question, when we look at what the One Bermuda Alliance has promised from the time that they were voted in to an election year, they have broken nearly every promise that they've made when it comes to education. So to come at the last minute and try to invest, as they're saying, it's just too little too late. The horse has already left the stable on that one. We understand that the public education system needs a government that's committed to it full-time, not only when it's down to an election.
Premier Michael Dunkley also said, when asked about, America's Cup and other projects being perceived to be put before education, he said that education has always been used as a political football. What would you say to that?
All we can say to that is you simply look at the facts. The facts are that education has seen $20 million in cuts since the One Bermuda Alliance has come into play, and they've said they've not had money. We've been told to do more with less, but we have an event that has popped up, and we have found $77 million for it. The facts speak for itself. But this is not being used as a political football. This is simply the facts.
My colleague has pointed out that the minister is saying that you misrepresented the figures, and they provided figures to counter your point that there has been investment in education.
Now, what your colleague said, that he was highlighting things of the 2017-18 budget, which is this year, which means that they have miraculously now tried to find money in an election year. Previously, if you look at the figures, the budget that was allocated when they first came in and the budget that was allocated as of this year, it's still $20 million less.
Do you have any evidence that money?
Yes.
And just to add to what the Shadow Minister has said, when we looked at the budget that was allocated for this school year coming up, it was only approximately $2 million above the budget of last year, which means that that budget truly only reflects things like increases to one's salary. There was never any monies put in place that would address the major issues that we're looking at throughout our school system when it comes to resources, the structure of the buildings, and the like. And so education still finds itself in a situation where we are going to have a great problem rectifying that situation if we don't get serious about putting a proper budget in place to address all those major issues. Thank you. You understand?
Good afternoon, Sarah.
Mr. O'Bain, you opened your speech there with the problems in the schools, the infrastructure, and mold, which has been a massive problem.
Yes.
Certainly under the OBA. I guess my question would be: is the mold and the failing infrastructure in Bermuda schools something that has only occurred under the OBA government? And if not, if it was also present under the PLP, what, if anything, did the PLP administration do about the problem when they were in power, when you were in power?
Sarah, I'm going to be quite honest, and to quote the leader of this party on Tuesday, the UBP, the PLP, and the One Bermuda Alliance has not done a good job in education, and that also includes building infrastructure. Moving forward, we recognize this, and we will put things in place and policies in place to ensure that our buildings are not only safe for our students to attend, but they will be monitored on a regular basis with reports published to say that they are safe to attend.
Do you welcome the report that the OBA did into this that highlighted the extent of the problem, the score report?
We do welcome the score report. We welcome all reports that were done, but as we all know, the school report did not go far enough. The school report only covered primary schools. It did not cover middle schools. And so a comprehensive inspection of all of our schools needs to take place and a policy put in place to ensure that they are inspected on an annual basis to ensure that they are healthy and safe to attend.
Talking on the issue of reports, under the PLP there was the Hopkins report. Is there much you can tell me? Then there were 10 recommendations, I believe, from that. Is there anything you can tell me that was actually implemented under the PLP that came from your report?
Under the Hopkins report, there were 10 major recommendations, and the Progressive Labor Party did implement eight of those 10 incidences. The things that we talk about, like dual enrollment, was one of the Hopkins reports. Having a commissioner was part of the Hopkins report. The career pathways came out of the Hopkins report. So there were several things that were implemented. The only thing that we did not get a chance to do was the establishment of the boards of governors or an entity similar to that. And that was the last two recommendations from the Hopkins report. But my shadow, the former shadow, can speak to it even more if she wished. Do you have anything else?
I think, just to reiterate what the shadow did say, basically, we did not put a federation together to govern the schools, and those are the many boards that you speak of, but when it came to classroom supervision and more visibility of the lead teachers or principals, all of that was implemented, and I would hope that it's still being conducted to this day. But many of the ideas emanating from the Hopkins report, we are still on board with, and one of those ideas in particular is the phasing out of middle schools. That was one of the things that Dr. Hopkins did highlight that over time should happen, because the data clearly proves that at that mid-tier, somehow there's a disconnect and there is a decline in the alignment of our system, both horizontally and vertically. And so he believed that rectifying that would definitely have to take place on a revamping of the system. And so the PLP is committed to trying to create a system which will respond to the needs of the community, both at the home level and at the wider business community, because we do put education first.
One more question, sorry.
Sure.
There's a lot of wonderful promises, and as you know, the OBA did the same in the run-up to their election.
Yeah.
We've got the phasing out of middle schools, you're helping out with tuition fees, college. You're going to continue trying to improve the school infrastructure. All of this comes at a financial cost. Have you got any idea how much this is going to cost the PLP and where that money is going to come from?
The only answer I can give you, Sarah, is that we are committed to education. We are committed to doing what needs to be done in education. And as we stated, it's about priorities. It's about finding the resources for what needs to be done. I'm not going to go. I can't get into at this point all of the particulars of those things, but I can rest assured, and we can give assurances to the people of Bermuda that the Progressive Labor Party will do what needs to be done to ensure that our schools are adequately funded, and that's all I can do.
Are there any other departments in government that you're looking at that can take the financial hit to be able to fund these projects? Is there any other areas of government been identified for you to be able to make these promises?
At this point, Sarah, I'll rest with my statement that we will do what's needed to be done.
Do you differ at all in your opinions to what the BUT has stated? Whether, if the repairs are done over the summer, then they would consider work to remove?
What did she say?
Can you repeat that?
Do you differ on your opinion to what the BUT's stance that they've taken in reference to the school repairs that need to be done?
Well, I look at it from this point of view, that health and safety of our educators and of our children needs to be of the highest priority. I don't think any one of us sitting in this room would want to work in a building they know has the potential to make them sick, either short-term or long-term. So if the BET is adamant that the schools need to be fixed, and we are right there with them, the schools need to be made safe for our students to attend, period.
Yeah, my question, I guess, has to do with the middle school, phasing out of the middle schools. You talked about some data. What is the data? Could you just clarify what data demonstrates the need to phase out middle schools?
The data that's being referred to can be, you can go to the ministry to collect that, and it's also with the Department of Statistics.
Yeah.
It clearly shows that a cohort of P6 students entering middle school declines, and that same cohort, the numbers increase when they go into S3 after they pass through middle school. So it's the data clearly shows that there is a lack of confidence there, that when the P6 cohorts enter into middle school, the parents are taking them out and putting them somewhere else. But when that same cohort finishes middle school and goes into high school, the students are coming back from somewhere. And that just demonstrates a lack of confidence in the system.
Right, they're leaving around P5, P6.
No, they're leaving at M1. They're leaving when they finish P6, and they're coming back when that same cohort enters into S1. And the statistics bear that out.
That speaks to a lack of confidence, but it doesn't speak to the quality of the middle school.
But the data.
You know, they haven't experienced it, they don't know what it's like. So does phasing it out address the confidence issues? I have a headache, I don't cut my head off.
Being responsive to parents.
Well, what we're doing is, well, we're being responsive to what parents are asking. If we have a public education system that the people do not trust, then we need to make changes. Some of those changes may not be popular to some parts of our community, but changes have to be made. And as we said, one of the changes that we are committed to is the phasing out of middle schools, and it's something that in the town hall meetings that we conducted prior to the strategic planning town hall meetings that have been conducted this year, that was one of the things that came out from the public, that they lacked confidence in the middle school system.
What do the professionals think about it? Do they support this vision of phasing out the middle school
Yeah.
system?
Which professionals?
Teachers, principals?
We can say that some support it, some don't.
Okay. And the last time we spoke about education, well, you did, you talked about creating some kind of autonomy for the system. You haven't mentioned that in this press conference. Why is that? Is that still a goal of yours?
It is still a goal to remove political interference from the decision-making process of the education system, and that's still one of our goals. What we will do is, upon being elected, that will be one of the things that we tackle and look at how can that be done. How can we put more responsibility in entities like the Board of Education, the commissioner, and the like, so they are responsible for they are the ones ultimately responsible for the outcomes.